a new report by In the Public Interest indicates that a lot of these private prisons that are run by GEO Group or Corrections Corporation of America actually have something written in their contracts that basically indicates that they need an inmate quota. So what is an inmate quota? Well, they have these contracts with the certain states that they operate in, and in the contracts they say that they have to have a 90 to 100% occupancy. So that means that there is more of an incentive to push for tough on crime legislation, and there's more of an incentive to lock up nonviolent drug offenders. So this is a big problem because one huge misconception, and I like to really emphasize this, is that private prisons save these states so much money. But keep in mind that they're not really private because they're funded by taxpayers. The politicians in each particular state will grant a certain amount of taxpayer money to operate these for-profit prisons. Now, this report shows you that a lot of these prisons have these very long-term contracts. They can be 20 years, they can be more than 20 years. Recently, California signed a contract with a for-profit prison, and it is a 5-year contract, so it seems very low, but I feel like that's just the tip of the iceberg. California has a huge problem with overpopulation in the prisons. Now, just to give you a little bit of information from the report, let me read to you what's currently happening in Arizona. 3 privately run prisons in Arizona have contracts that require 100% inmate occupancy. So the state is obligated to keep its prisons filled to capacity. Otherwise, it has to pay the private company for any unused beds. So just think about that for a second. That is insane. That means that if the state isn't funneling in as many inmates as possible to these private prisons, that means that the taxpayer has to pay for the unused beds in the so-called private prison.
Yeah. That's the free market in action, I guess. I mean, like, just for the sake of argument, I try to come up with some other industry where you have, like, if you're running a theater, you know, you got to pack the seats. We got to sell all my tickets. You don't do like a 7-Eleven. No other company is able to bargain in this way. I guess their lobby is just stronger than I had thought.
Their lobby is extremely strong, and they work with ALEC. ALEC works with the private prisons to pass or to continue tough on crime laws. So that's why you see this continual war on drugs. That's why you see legislation like SB 1070 in Arizona getting passed, because, well, all of a sudden, if you can detain and imprison undocumented immigrants before you deport them, that's freaking awesome, right? All of a sudden, these private prisons can make some money off of it, and it's all on your dime.
I don't understand. Like, I get that there are certain areas where there are not 100 companies bidding for something, but I have to imagine that if they come back with their deal and that, like, you have to fill every single spot or else you pay out the ass to us, I'd respond by saying, shove it up your ass, I'll get a different company to run the prison. Like, shouldn't that be the obvious response? Unfortunately, it's not, because I'm sure the politicians are getting donations, but the idea that a contract would determine the percentage of seats or beds in a prison that are filled, no. The crime rate determines how many people we have in prison, I thought.
And there is a reason why we imprison more people than any other country in the world. There is a profit motive here, and we are allowing the profit motive to continue. For-profit prisons were established in the 1980s when we were locking away so many people for nonviolent drug offenses that these companies realized that there's a profit to be made off of it. So let me give you some more information from the report that just blew my mind. Arizona, Louisiana, and Oklahoma, and Virginia are locked in contracts with the highest occupancy guarantee requirements, with all quotas requiring between 95 and 100% occupancy.
It's totally naive of me. I sometimes wish that we could just take all these influential people who are able to get politicians to do whatever we want, just give them a private island. Go there, give them beautiful women or whatever they want. Just stop
give
messing
them
with their
beautiful women, because they're objects to be given.
No. They get them. Trust me, if they come to LA. But no, like, the idea that I just don't understand the power behind them. Like, there should be some sort of obvious, like, we just took $39 billion out of SNAP over the next 10 years. Like, we don't have the money for food stamps that stop literally disabled people, veterans, and children for the most part from starving to death. We don't have money for that. But we do have enough money to change the laws to make sure that we put people in prison. And if we mess up and not enough people go to jail, if, like, society gets, better and less violent and all that, they still get paid. And politicians go with straight faces to the public and they say that this is the way it should be. Like, we have to cut SNAP, we have to pay for the private prisons, and most people don't care because I guess they don't go to Salon or they don't watch the Young Turks, and that's unfortunate. I wish at times that we had the ability to sort of co-opt popular culture to advance our political agenda. Like, if we could just get Miley Cyrus to grind up on a private prison, maybe people would pay attention to it and we could do something about these laws being pushed by Alec.